Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com, and it is playoff time. And the Dallas Cowboys are actually a part of it. Here on StarTelegram.com, I am Fort Worth Star Telegram sports columnist Mac Engel, and I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr., as we preview, yes, unbelievably, the Dallas Cowboys' upcoming playoff game this Sunday at AT&T Stadium against the San Francisco 49ers. Clarence, this little fun journey began back in Oxnard, I think in July last year. And here we are getting ready for the playoffs. The Cowboys didn't get to the 1 seed, but they are the 3 seed. And are you feeling good about their chances?
You know, I feel good about the way they're played, the way they ended the season after a slump. You know, you got record-setting ending to the season, and they played it the right way because they played themselves into the 3rd seed, no matter what we thought, anybody else thought of how they should have handled the season finale, and they ended the season with, you know, a record-setting performance and a record-setting season in terms of points and touchdowns and everything else. They are going in on a high note. It's one and done. I mean, there are no easy games. There are no more NFC East games in the playoffs. So, you know, it's not going to be easy. But yes, they should feel good about their positioning because it's not just about who they get in the first round, because now they've set themselves up for, they get to avoid Green Bay for a couple of rounds if they're fortunate enough to get that far. I mean, you know, that was the thing about being the 4th seed. If you do win your first game, then you go to Green Bay for the second game. And now there's a chance that if there's an upset, they can host a second round game, or they go to Tampa for the second game. So they get to avoid Green Bay for another couple of rounds if they get that far. But of course, as Mike McCarthy said yesterday, all the Cowboys are focused on is winning their first game and winning against San Francisco.
Yeah, the goal now is just get to Monday and get ready to prepare for another game, because as you and I talked about off camera, this is the real season, and it begins right now because the Dallas Cowboys come in here with a 12-5 record after easily kicking around the Philadelphia Eagles in their Week 18 regular season finale by scoring more than 50 points for the second time in their last 3 games. Now, it's worth noting that the Eagles threw up the white flag well before kickoff by electing to put on the bench 16 of their starters in that game, including starting quarterback Jalen Hurts. Now, the big deal about this Sunday's game isn't, like you said, the fact that they're not playing an NFC East team, because they swept the NFC East, and now they're going to play a real team. And I don't think of all the NFC playoff potential matchups, none of them look great. They all look challenging in their own way. And certainly the San Francisco 49ers, who come in to AT&T Stadium as the 6th seed, they don't look that challenging by virtue of their record, only 10-7. But if you look at their last 6 or 7 weeks of the regular season, this is one of the hottest teams in the NFC. San Francisco started the season 3-5, and they finished the regular season with a 7-2 run, including a win at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles by beating the Rams, and a really nice win for Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyle Shanahan, and the 49ers. Clarence, this game scares me for a lot of different reasons, and I think of all the different matchups they could have had, obviously the one you wanted is Philadelphia, but this one right now, this one makes me nervous. The Cowboys should feel good about the way they're playing, but so should the 49ers.
No, yeah. You know, again, there are no easy outs in the playoffs. Maybe Philadelphia, but again, there are no easy outs. And the 49ers record is a product of certainly the division they're playing in. They're playing in a tough division. They got 3 teams in the playoffs with Arizona and the Rams to go along with the Cardinals. But they're hot. They're playing as well as any team. Certainly they beat the so-called NFC West champs Rams in the final game. They own the Rams. I think they've won 6 straight against the Rams. You know, with their physical style, they just, you know, they just have, you know, a way. Kyle Shanahan owns, you know, the boy genius up in Los Angeles. But again, it's a different game. It's a different matchup. The Cowboys did beat them last year, so it was a different Cowboys team and a different 49ers team. But the only hope the Cowboys have, to me, is the Rams are good against the run. They run the ball well. They don't throw the ball well. They still have a mistake waiting to happen with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. He will throw it up for you. He will make some mistakes. The Cowboys are opportunistic. They get after the quarterback. They can find some mistakes there for them. And their pass defense, if they can protect the 49ers have a hellacious front four. They can get after the quarterback with Bosa. And if the Cowboys can protect, there can be plays made down the field against that secondary.
And you talked about the San Francisco run defense, and certainly Joey Bosa is one of the better defensive linemen in the NFL. But there's the one element to this game that makes me nervous for the Cowboys. You mentioned their defense. They turn the ball over. They can get after the passer, which is great. If you can make this game about Jimmy Garoppolo's ability to pass, you're probably going to win it. If you let San Francisco do what they want to do and run the ball and own the clock, this is the best running team in the NFL. The best running team in the NFL. And it's not like they're sitting there with Jonathan Taylor or some celebrity running back there. Their second leading runner was a wide receiver in Deebo Samuel. And he's a unique weapon. He's probably one of the most unique weapons in the NFL right now. But when you look at San Francisco, the way they play, that makes me nervous. Do you think in terms of the way the Cowboys, what they want to do, which is get after you and make you get into 3rd and 7 and to force you into kind of those plays, but is San Francisco good enough on 1st and 2nd down that they can make this a really, really miserable day for Dallas?
Oh, they can. I mean, Deebo Samuels, that's a man. The Cowboys got to put their big boy pants on. Let's just be on defense. Cowboys are more of, I would say, finesse. They like to, obviously intercept the ball, and they like to get after the quarterback. I don't know if they don't have any large players, 300-some pound defensive linemen. They're just not stacked like that. But they're going to put their big bad pants on. That's Micah Parsons. They're going to have to get out there and get nasty and dirty and stop the run. They're going to have to be physical because that's the type of game this is going to be. It's not just with the running backs. You talked about, how they do it with their wide receivers playing running back. And Deebo Samuels is a unique weapon because he can beat you as a receiver, breaking tackles out of the backfield after catches, and then certainly can beat you as a running back coming around the end. And he doesn't just run the sweeps. He runs up the middle.
He does. He'll run between the tackles.
Running back, and that you have to get on the ground. So it's going to be a challenge. That manhood's going to be challenged. But again, this is what you wanted. There are no easy outs in the playoffs. Whether you have to, if there was Arizona, you have to deal with Kyler Murray. You have to deal with the things that you couldn't handle out there on the edge. And this game, you deal with the physical style of the 49ers rushing game. But you have to get it done if you're going to make this a dream season. You talked about everything you want is out there in front of you. Okay, you finished 12-5. You won the NFC East. You got the home game. You got AT&T Stadium. You play your best at home. No excuses.
No excuses. And when we sit there and look back at the 17 games that the Dallas Cowboys played this season, and I look at the statistics, and I mentioned San Francisco's got the best running attack statistically in the NFL. They average well over 4 yards a carry. The Dallas Cowboys run defense is right in the middle, 15 or 16. I think they're 16th against the run. Clarence, I need you to help me out. Can you think of a game where a running attack against the Cowboys really just handed it to them? The one that I can think of, I think, was probably Denver, but I can't think of another running attack that just
Denver ran well. They couldn't get the Denver running back on the ground, but I think it was more about the Cowboys offense not getting it done. There's some mistakes made there. You talk. There were a lot of things that went on in that Denver game, and they were allowed to mash them with the run. Toward the end, they couldn't get the running back on the ground and couldn't get off the field. But yeah, it wasn't. The games the Cowboys lost, and we can go back through them. It wasn't necessarily because they got run over, but again, no one has run it as well as the 49ers. And it's not just, again, they're physical on both sides of the ball. They're physical on defense as well. It's just going to be a physical war out. It's going to be an ugly football game, and the Cowboys have to find a way to win ugly.
Just out of curiosity, before we go on to our next subject, I know going into Week 18, the thought was the Cowboys were probably going to face the Arizona Cardinals again in the first round. But this team lost and that team won and nobody tied and blah, blah, blah. And then the Cowboys avoided that potential, I guess, sequel game by San Francisco winning, and now they're going to face the 49ers. And the first thought was, I think for a lot of people, they missed Kyler Murray and that team that beat them at AT&T Stadium on January 2nd or 3rd, even though they only beat them by 3, and the Cowboys blamed the refs after the game. My first thought was, I think Dallas could have beaten Arizona, and I think they would have beaten Arizona. The more I look at this game, this one makes me a little bit more nervous. Do you think that the challenge would have been not necessarily the same, but the odds are necessarily the same? Because it was going to be a home game, and they were looking at Arizona or San Francisco. Which one do you think would have? I mean, do you really see any difference right there?
I think that I think the Cowboys would rather face the Rams or Arizona. Because there was a chance they could have faced the Rams as well. They would. The Cowboys probably would have rather faced the Rams or Arizona.
Really, the Rams, Arizona over the 49ers.
Yeah, just because of the way they play and the style they play. I mean, I think that to me, with Arizona, like you said, it was a 3-point loss, but I think that they finally got to see Kyler Murray to maybe get a handle on his speed after not seeing him before. And again, at the end of the game, it was a 3-point game with them having a chance to win. After everything that they had done early, the Cowboys' offense came on late and probably got some confidence late in that game that they probably could use to their advantage in a rematch. And again, the Rams are a team that I've always thought Stafford was a guy who who's never won a playoff game, who would give it up late as well, which he did in the season finale. Arizona, the Rams, the 49ers, they were all going to be tough regardless. They're all out of the AFC West, and that's one reason why the records are so as pretty as the NFC West and aren't as pretty as they were in the NFC East. So it was not going to be easy one way or the other. But the bottom line is they have the 49ers. That doesn't deal with that. Deal with the 49ers. That deal with their fans because the 49ers fans are going to be here. They travel better than Rams in Arizona. It's just, and then you got to deal with the history of the Cowboys 49er rivalry. There's a lot going on here in this game with this matchup. So for the NFL, it's a great matchup. It's a historic matchup. And again, it's going to be a tough matchup for the Cowboys, and it could be epic, another epic finish in this great rivalry.
By the looks of the NFC playoffs right now, there is an outside chance that Mike McCarthy, the current Dallas Cowboys head coach, could have a reunion of sorts with his former quarterback if everything goes right in Green Bay quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Now, Mike McCarthy has to obviously win a couple of games in order for that to happen. So does Aaron Rodgers. He'll have to win one. But before he does that, Mike McCarthy has to outcoach San Francisco's Kyle Shanahan. Both of these guys have been to Super Bowls. Kyle Shanahan didn't win his. They had a fourth quarter lead late against Kansas City before Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs woke up and defeated the 49ers a couple of years ago. But a lot of people forget about that because Jimmy Garoppolo actually had a pretty decent day. He missed a big throw late that might have given them a win. But nonetheless, this is where the 49ers are, and Shanahan's done a nice job in his time at San Francisco. Mike McCarthy comes in an interesting situation in the sense that I can't remember a coach getting this much criticism, even though they went 12-5 in his second season and his first season with a healthy starting quarterback the way McCarthy and his staff have. Dan Quinn doesn't get any criticism at all. In fact, he might get a head coaching job. But McCarthy's situation is a little bit different because he does do some things, specifically some play calls that go against the grain and make you say, wait a minute, what are you doing? In this particular game, Clarence, these are two pretty good NFL coaches. Whom do you give the edge to? Mike McCarthy, a guy who's won a Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame quarterback and a guy who's probably playing as well as any quarterback in the history of the NFL, or Kyle Shanahan, a guy who got to his Super Bowl with a good defense and a pretty good quarterback?
Yeah, and, it's interesting because, Mike McCarthy's not been to the playoffs since 2016.
That might have come up.
Hasn't been
Cowboys haven't been to the playoffs since 2018, but go ahead.
I'm just saying, haven't been playoffs since 2016. But yes, it's interesting that, this historic coach with all that run and the Super Bowl titles, it's been that long. Certainly, he was fired in Green Bay in 2018 and sat out 2019, and now he's back in the playoffs, back where he believes he belongs. The good news for Mike McCarthy is he's not alone. He's coming with Dan Quinn. So, I think it's a Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn combo against Kyle Shanahan. the boy wonder.
So then, but I mean, if you had to go from an X's and O's standpoint, if it's a fourth quarter, it's a 2-point game either way.
Right.
Whom do you trust as a play caller, as a game manager? Who do you trust? I got to tell, I trust Shanahan more than McCarthy. And not like McCarthy's some bum, but I put my money on Kyle Shanahan.
I know, and we forget that. Well, who managed that Super Bowl when there was a 28-3, comeback by the Patriots?
The combo.
Who was managing that offense?
That's right. Forget about that one.
Who was managing that offense? And he's had some other duds since then. And we're talking about Shanahan,
right?
Obviously the offense coordinator for Atlanta Falcons when Dan Quinn was head coach, when they blew a 28-3 lead to the New England Patriots in the fourth quarter. Because of the way
you bring up a really good point, because everybody talks about that, and Shanahan did get, quite frankly, some deserved criticism for the play calling, the fact that they just kept going for it and just irrespective of the clock, because Shanahan was kind of stubborn back then and just saying, well, we do what we do. Well, that's great, but use some common sense. And I think you got to give a coach some. I mean, it was terrible coaching. It was on the part of the Falcons back then to blow a 28-3 second half lead against the Patriots in that Super Bowl. But I do think you have to give some guys some credit for learning from mistakes, probably. And I give that team a lot of credit, because I think Garoppolo is pretty good, and to do what they've done with Garoppolo, a pretty good quarterback, I think says a lot of good things about that organization and that staff.
Because he almost messed up his offense by drafting the quarterback in the first round, and then try to challenge Garoppolo's job and how he's managed them to get to be playing as well as they are late in the season, overcoming the quarterback controversy, overcoming the quote-unquote confidence of his starting quarterback and having to deal with that to get to this point. So, no, he's done a great job, but he's done it by limiting his quarterback, by using a run game and taking his quarterback out the equation. Remember, when they won in Atlanta, it was because of Matt Ryan was the MVP and throwing the ball all over the park. And he was a quarterback friendly. It wasn't necessarily about the running game. It was about the quarterback being great. Now it's about the running game and its schemes and its formations to limit the exposure of the quarterback. And they're playing certainly with their great defense. Those are the formulas for success. So, it's going to be an interesting chess match. Again, it's you on paper. You say, yeah, you give it to Shanahan because of what he's done and what he's overcome and how he's thinking. We all question McCarthy. We've been nitpicking and questioning him all season, all of the way he's handled things. But I mean, let's give him credit. I mean,
for sure.
The way they finished the season, he handled the team right. He got him in the right mindset. It's not his fault who they put on the schedule, but he handled the schedule right. The Cowboys are healthy, and partly because of the way he's handled them all season. So give the old man, give the experienced coaches some credit here. It's not like they're going to be the weak link in this game. And I think the bigger problem with the Cowboys, and certainly we don't really have time to go into it, but the bigger problem is the way they handle the kicker. Do you trust the kicker?
No way. I'm glad you mentioned that. Greg Zuerlein,
how you call the game and coach the game and manage the game, late in the game, because you can't even trust them on extra points indoors.
Nope.
And they're going to be at home. And do you trust the kicker?
No way.
In a big game to make a big kick.
No, and I'm really glad you brought up Greg Zuerlein. He's missed 6 kicks this season. He's missed 6 point-after attempts. Any other kicker would have been cut by now. But because the Cowboys love him and they don't think they can – I shouldn't say that. Bones Fossil loves him. Mike McCarthy's committed to his special teams coach, and they don't think there's anybody else any better on the street. But I'm glad you brought that up, because Greg Zuerlein could be a massive issue for this team. Okay, it is prediction time. The Dallas Cowboys are 3-point favorites on Sunday against the 49ers. 3-point favorites. That's basically the equivalent of Vegas thinking this is a push game, because the home team obviously gets 3 points. I have a horrible feeling about this game, and I don't know why. I thought they would beat Arizona. The Rams, I like that matchup because of Stafford, but for some reason, I just don't have a good feeling about this one. And considering the way San Francisco has played, if this becomes about the quarterbacks, give me Dak and the Cowboys. But if they get off to a slow start and they're sluggish in any way. Give me the 49ers. I hate to say it. I think San Francisco's going to win this game, Clarence.
Well, I'm going to make it about the quarterbacks. That's what usually comes down to in the playoffs. And the Cowboys have a decided edge at the quarterback position. Dak is at home. Dak is, playing the best football of the season. He's surpassed Tony Romo's all-time leading passer. He got his receivers healthy. Tyron Smith is healthy and back. He should be ready to go. The offensive line should be ready to go. Give me the Cowboys. It's going to be a close one, but give me the Cowboys late.
I hope you're right. And I hope this time next week when we're here on Cowboys Overtime, we will be previewing the divisional round game, most likely against Tampa. But I just have this weird feeling of having watched too many disappointing Cowboys playoff games over the last however many years that San Francisco is going to come in here and get them. I hope I'm wrong. Clarence, this has been fun. I will see you Sunday. Cowboys against the 49ers on CBS, going old school. Pat Summerall and John Madden somewhere will be enjoying that telecast. It's a 3:30 kickoff. Cowboys, 49ers, NFC wild card. For all of your Cowboys coverage needs, please be sure to check us out on StarTelegram.com. We'll see you next week, hopefully previewing another playoff game.